preparedness and response, under Pillar 2, 1 billion more people better protected from health emergencies. Sub-items 13.4, intergovernmental negotiating body to draft and negotiate a WHO convention, agreement or other international instrument on pandemic prevention, preparedness and response. 13.3, working group on amendments to the international health regulations of 2005. All that remains for us today is to consider the outcomes from the drafting group established by Committee A. I would like to give the floor to the co-chairs of the drafting group to make some introductory remarks. Ms. Matsoso, you have the floor.
Good evening, the President of the World Health Assembly, the Chair of Committee A, and the Director General and other office bearers. Thank you so much for being patient with us, for allowing us, together with my co-chair, Dr. Bloomfield, to finish this work. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the drafting group for agreeing to stay long hours to complete this historic task. It is a great honor indeed to present this work. This historic work where we are having two instruments being considered at the same time. The amendment of the international health regulations, as well as the extension of the work of the intergovernmental negotiating body for the proposed pandemic agreement that was presented to the Assembly. I am pleased to say that the drafting group has agreed to present to the Assembly that recommendation that this work of the INB should be extended. I'm hoping that the work of the INB working group will serve as a good basis to propel the work of INB forward and to ensure this work can be concluded so that we can better respond and also better prepare to pandemics. It will also help us to address equitable distribution and access to needed pandemic health-related products. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my Bureau members who have been key in ensuring that we could present this work, but also Dr. Joad, who led the Secretariat, as well as the INB members themselves who worked so hard to reach this stage. But I'm pleased that the drafting group members have worked hard, and I'd like to take this opportunity to hand over to Dr. Bloomfield.
Thank you, Ms. Matsoso. Sir Bloomfield, you have the floor.
Much, Mr. President, and I just want to acknowledge the Director General and other office bearers, and just to say a huge thank you to the many members of our working group who are in the room today and have worked with myself and my incredibly able co-chair who's with me here of the WGIHR, Dr. Asiri, for 42 days. This last day, we were still going till about 2 o'clock this morning, and then we continued today. And the important thing is we feel we've developed, for your consideration here in the plenary, a set of amendments to the international health regulations that we can be proud of and that will absolutely shift the game in terms of improving health security and addressing equity. And that's the element that I'm certainly the most proud of. So thank you again for the opportunity and the privilege of being involved. Back to you, sir.
Thank you, Sir Bloomfield. With respect to item 13.4, is the Assembly now ready to note the report contained in document A77/10? This is noted. We will also consider the draft decision entitled Intergovernmental Negotiating Body contained in document A77/A/conf./15 as recommended by the drafting group. Is the Assembly ready to adopt the decision as proposed? I see no objection. The decision is adopted. With respect to item 13.3, we'll consider the amendments to the International Health Regulations of 2005 resulting from the work of the drafting group established by Committee A and as reflected in document A77/A/conf./14. We will now turn to the draft resolution recommended by the drafting group adopting the amendments contained in document A77/A/conf./14. I shall ask the Secretary to read out the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. The 77th World Health Assembly, PP1, recalling resolution WHA 58.3, 2005, adopting the International Health Regulations 2005 as subsequently amended through resolution WHA 67.13, 2014 and WHA 75.12, 2022. PP2, recalling also decision EB 153, 2022 and WHA 75.9, 2022. PP3, acknowledging with appreciation the work of the Review Committee regarding amendments to the International Health Regulation 2005, convened by the Director General pursuant to decision WHA 75.9, 2022. PP4, expressing appreciation for the work of the Working Group on amendments to the International Health Regulation 2005, WGIHR, and acknowledging with appreciation the leadership of its Bureau. PP5, recognizing state parties' right to notify the Director General of rejections or reservations pursuant to Article 59, 61 and 62 of the International Health Regulation 2005 to the amendments to the International Health Regulation 2005 annexed to this resolution. 1. Adopts, in accordance with Article 55 of the International Health Regulation 2005, the amendments to the International Health Regulations 2005 annexed to this resolution, hereinafter referred to as the amended International Health Regulation 2005. 2. Decides, A, in accordance with paragraph 2 of Article 54 of the amended International Health Regulation 2005, that the review of the functioning of the regulation shall be made by the 80th World Health Assembly. B, that amendments to the Model International Certificate of Vaccination or Prophylaxis contained in Annex 6 will only apply to certificates issued after the date of the entry into force of the amended International Health Regulation 2005. C, that future instruments on public health emergency or pandemic prevention, preparedness and response adopted pursuant to the WHO Constitution may utilize the coordinating financial mechanism contained in Article 44 bis of the amended International Health Regulations 2005 to serve the implementation of such instruments. 3. Request the Director General A. To give prompt notification of the amendments of the International Health Regulation 2005 adopted through this resolution in accordance with paragraph 1 of Article 65 of the International Health Regulation 2005, on the understanding that, prior to such notification, the Director General shall ensure the uniformity of the Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian and Spanish texts of the amendments, allowing for state parties' review and input on language conformity and accuracy. B. To inform other competent intergovernmental organizations or international bodies of the amendments to the International Health Regulation 2005 adopted through this resolution, including especially the International Maritime Organization, IMO, regarding amended Article 37 and Annex 3, 4 and 8. C. To commence work in advance of the entry into force of the amendments adopted through this resolution on matters addressed in all amended articles, and to prepare and publish a consolidated version of the amended International Health Regulation 2005. D. To collaborate with state parties to the extent possible in the mobilization of predictable, sustainable and timely financial resources to support developing countries in developing, strengthening and maintaining the capacities required under the amended International Health Regulation 2005. E. To facilitate the process for the 80th World Health Assembly to review the functioning of the amended International Health Regulation 2005 in accordance with paragraph 2 of Article 54 of the amended International Health Regulation 2005. F. To facilitate the convening of the first meeting of the state parties Committee for the implementation of the International Health Regulation 2005 in accordance with Article 54 bis of the amended International Health Regulation 2005 no later than 1 year after entry into force of the amended International Health Regulation 2005, and G. To develop and regularly review in consultation with Member States the risk assessment approach to inform the determination of a public health emergency of international concern, including pandemic emergencies.
Is the Assembly now ready to adopt the resolution as read out? I see no objection. The resolution, including the amendments contained in document A77/A/conf./14, is adopted. Thank you. The resolution as read out and adopted will be available on the WHO website. I will now open the floor for short interventions by member states. Please note that you have 1 minute to make your interventions. Group statements have 2 minutes. The floor is now open. Please raise your name, please. Costa Rica, you have the floor, to be followed by Slovakia.
Gracias, Presidente.
Thank you, President. Costa Rica would like to give thanks for the work that has been carried out over the last 2 years. It's been a long and complex process. Whilst the effort is important, that we recognize that this process has collateral effects that is directly affecting public health on a national, international level. campaigns of misinformation and our own lack of communication on an assertive level globally has led to a polarizing effect, which means that they have harmful and direct effects on rates of vaccination, confidence in the health system, and a rejection of all scientific evidence as a basis of decision-making in public health. It's time to deal with the challenges that became more acute during the pandemic. That is why Costa Rica disassociates from the consensus to extend the mandate, because the prolongation and the uncertainty of a potential pandemic treaty will only serve to worsen the existing polarization, which directly affects the well-being of my population, and I am responsible for preserving and maintaining their health. Thank you.
Thank you. Slovakia, you have the floor to be followed by Germany.
Dear Mr. President, Director General, Excellencies, delegates and colleagues. After a challenging and highly intense process experienced by all delegations and led by dedicated co-chairs, we have reached the conclusion of our discussions and negotiations. The aim was to shape the content of the text to the best reflect the challenges of current world and the new global paradigm, while considering the contextualized needs of individual countries. However, I would like to inform you that despite significant effort made, Slovak Republic continues to have serious concerns about the entire amendments to the IHR 2005. Therefore, we request Secretariat that it be noted in the report that Slovak Republic disassociate itself from the entire amendments to the IHR 2005 text. I thank you.
Thank you, Germany. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Germany aligns itself with a statement that will be delivered by the European Union. 2.5 years ago, we embarked together on a journey to strengthen pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. Today marks an important milestone in this journey, and Germany is proud that we finalized the amendments to strengthen the international health regulations today. The amendments, including the Implementation Committee and Coordination Financial Mechanisms, mark major steps to ensure better and more equitable implementation of the AHR. And we would like to particularly thank the co-chairs for their leadership. You did a tremendous job. Thank you. For the other, it is our common responsibility to make sure that it does not end here today. We have made a lot of progress on which we can now build on to finalize the pandemic agreement. And we want to thank everybody involved here in Geneva and around the world in this process for their strong commitment and hard work. Chair, we need to make sure that this world remains united to protect and promote health for all. Let us continue to invest in trust building, multilateralism, and cooperation to make health for all for health, a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Canada, you have the floor to be followed by Iran.
Thank you, Chair. Canada aligns itself with the regional statement to be delivered by Mexico. We wish to express our immense gratitude to the WGIHR Bureau for its leadership and for expertly guiding us towards the successful conclusion of the IHR amendment process. We also thank our fellow member states who demonstrated commitment, respect, and a collaborative spirit towards enhancing this critical instrument, thereby strengthening the global health security architecture and enhancing accountability in a manner that respects national sovereignty. Canada's next step is to get acceptance domestically, and we would like to join in co-sponsoring the IHR resolution. The dialogue this week on next steps for the INB has been a testament to our collective desire to achieve a successful pandemic agreement. We look forward to continuing to make meaningful progress in the coming months. The efforts and milestones which we have achieved this week are robust contributions to advancing health equity and ultimately well-being for all. Health emergencies are unfortunately in abundance around the world, but our work together has gotten us further ahead to prevent, prepare, and respond to what lies ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Iran, you have the floor to be followed by Iraq.
Thank you, Mr. President. We value the IHR as a cornerstone of international public health law. but several areas need improving if we are to be better prepared for the next pandemic. My delegation, through the Working Group on Amendments to the International Health Regulations, tirelessly has worked to that end to improve the IHR. We are concerned that the outcome text of the WGIHR does not fully address the long-standing concern raised by a number of states and is far from what we expected through this process, namely on equity and development-related issues. Accordingly, my delegation would like to emphasize on the IHR state rights, party rights, for internal consideration of the IHR amendments annexed to this resolution in accordance with national rules and regulations, and if required, as stipulated in the resolution, to notify the Director General of a possible rejection or reservation pursuant to Article 59, 61, and 62 of the IHR to this amendment to the International Health Regulation annexed to this resolution. Finally, we reiterate that nothing in this resolution and its annex should be construed as expanding the authority of WHO and other international bodies to the detriment of the sovereignty of the state parties. I thank you.
Thank you. Iraq, you have the floor, to be followed by Spain.
Thank you, Chair. Our congratulations to the Bureau and all state parties to achieving tremendous success in finalization, the most crucial document for our health security. We eagerly anticipate robust cooperation and coordination among the state parties to ensure compliance with these regulations. Additionally, we express our willingness to collaborate flexibly with countries aiming to review, adopt, and share experiences and implementation measures. Furthermore, concerning the IMB pandemic agreement, we firmly believe that in the presence of experienced and qualified experts from the Bureau and all state parties will greatly facilitate the successful completion of IMB for pandemic agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Spain, you have the floor, to be followed by Monaco.
Gracias, presidente.
Thank you, President. Spain aligns itself with the statement that will be made by the European Union, and would like to express our satisfaction with the significant amendments to the IHR. We include equity and a definition of pandemic emergency and a financial coordination mechanism, and substantive improvements. And we'd like to thank the Bureau and the co-chairs for their successful outcome of this work. We'd also like to thank the Director General for his work and the Secretariat for their support. Today is a day for multilateralism and consensus, and this is the best way of concluding our World Health Assembly. We hope that the energy and good spirit of today will help us reach a rapid conclusion to the pandemic treaty. Thank you.
Monaco, you have the floor, to be followed by the United States of America.
Thank you, President. 20 years ago, Monaco actively participated in the revision of IHRs. Monaco also participated actively in the working group on the IHRs, which successfully completed its work today. We are sure that the amendments we negotiated over these 2 years, and on the basis of the lessons learned from COVID, will enable us to improve our preparedness and response collectively to health emergencies, including pandemics, through new measures and mechanisms, and by strengthening solidarity and equity. In conclusion, I should like to thank in particular our 2 co-chairs for the work which they accomplished. Without them, I'm not sure we would have managed to achieve such a result. So a very great vote of thanks.
United States of America, to be followed by Ethiopia.
Mr. President, 2.5 years ago, our delegation introduced a proposal to update the international health regulations for the first time in nearly 20 years. There were people who questioned whether we could or should succeed, but we knew each of us had a responsibility for making the world better, safer, and stronger. That's what these amendments do: enhance transparency and timeliness of information, improve equitable access to critical health products, and make global health security architecture overall more fit for purpose while maintaining full respect for sovereignty of individual states. I want to thank the many individuals who have sacrificed so much for this moment. You make your countries proud. The United States is honored to co-sponsor this IHR resolution and support the adoption of an INB decision. We are confident that the new package of IHR amendments and continued work towards a pandemic agreement will have a positive impact on improving our collective preparedness and response. Finally, we align ourselves with the regional statement and want to thank the INB and WGIHR bureaus and the WHO Secretariat for helping us celebrate this achievement.
Thank you. Ethiopia, you have the floor, to be followed by Mexico.
Thank you, Chair. Ethiopia is honored to deliver this intervention on behalf of the 47 member states of the African region and Egypt. Today marks an important milestone in Global Health Multilateral Forum, as member states have successfully negotiated and found a consensus on the amendment of the International Health Regulation. This is a testament of our tireless work, shared commitment, and dedication to enhance emergency preparedness and response. This, in our view, will create a pivotal moment to accelerate the discussions in the pandemic agreement and complete our unfinished work. We acknowledge the tireless effort of the co-chairs, both the WGIHR, the INB Bureau, all member states, the WHO Secretariat, and all support staff, in particular our wonderful fellow African negotiators. These amendments signify our collective commitment and step towards strengthening our global health architecture, ensuring better preparedness for public health emergencies and pandemics. Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, this is an ever-growing need and urgency for robust coordination and responsive system and multilateral solution. While we celebrate the collective work and opportunities to have generational amendments, and a lot is to be done to operationalize equity and leaving no one behind. As we endorse the amendment of the IHR, we recognize the significance of solidarity and cooperation. Health security is a shared responsibility. We call upon all member states to reaffirm their commitment to multilateralism, transparency, and trust, and to work collaboratively towards effective implementation. The 47 member states of the African region and Egypt remain actively engaged and stand ready to take over and to work on the IHR implementation and the finalization of the INB forward. We urge all member states to join hands in this vital endeavor. Together, we can build a more robust, equitable, and resilient global health system. Let us signify the theme of this year's World Health Assembly: all for health and health for all, a stride for a healthier and safer world. I thank you.
Thank you. Mexico, you have the floor, to be followed by Russian Federation.
Gracias, señor. Thank you, President. I make this statement on behalf of the following countries in the Americas: Barbados, Bolivia, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Colombia, El Salvador, Ecuador, El Salvador, United States, Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, Peru, the Dominican Republic, Trinidad and Tobago, and Uruguay. In terms of lives lost and long-term social and economic damage, the Americas, and particularly Latin America and the Caribbean, were amongst the most affected regions in the world by the COVID-19 pandemic. For this reason, for our delegations, the development of new rules and commitments to strengthen preparedness and response to future health emergencies is an opportunity that must be seized. The timeline established to finalize both processes, the complexity of the topics debated, which cover different sectors and national authorities in charge of them, as well as the capacities of the smaller delegations in our region, have been difficult challenges to overcome over these 2 years. Despite these, our delegations have actively participated in both processes to bring them to a successful outcome, in line with our national and regional interests and our sovereignty, but always guided by the principles of equity and solidarity. The Americas is an heterogeneous region, and our differences in capacities and opinions on the measures needed to improve pandemic preparedness somewhat reflect the broader debate in both processes. Taking advantage of our proximity, we have tried to contribute viable solutions in a constructive manner. In other words, the commitment of our countries to achieve a positive outcome in both processes has always been present and remains so. We also thank the Permanent Health Organization for its support and efforts made over these 2 years to provide technical guidance to member states and promote inclusion of our countries in both processes. We celebrate that the states have reached consensus on the amendments to the international health regulations and the extension of the deadline to finalize the new instrument on pandemics. This is an important milestone. The ultimate goal of these processes is to protect the health of our citizens, strengthen our national capacities, and enhance international collaboration. The update of the regulations will allow us to advance in achieving these objectives. We hope that the success achieved with the regulations will renew the spirit of collaboration and political will to reach a successful outcome regarding the instrument with equity at its heart. Finally, to conclude, we'd like to thank the Director General, the Secretariat staff responsible for coordinating the work, the bureaus of both processes, and especially our colleagues, Ambassador Tovar da Silva from Brazil and Colin McIff from the United States, for their great effort and leadership. Thank you very much.
Russian Federation, you have the floor, to be followed by Fiji.
President, given the adoption by the World Health Assembly of the resolution for emergency health preparedness, prevention and control through amendments to the IHRs, we state that the Russian party will examine the amendments to the IHRs within our national legislation. We stress the sovereign right of states to make reservations or reject amendments as provided by the Constitution and Articles 61 and 62 of the IHRs. Thank you.
Fiji, you have the floor, to be followed by France.
Their work, we have been committed and actively participating in the negotiations for the pandemic national health regulations amendments, focusing on producing a pandemic agreement and amended IHRs centered on global solidarity and equity, while respecting national sovereignty for a world that is better prepared. We've been on this journey for over 2 years, and we're proud to be part of the successful conclusion of the WG-IHR and the adoption of amendments to the IHR, and we're committed to continuing negotiations for the pandemic agreement. At times in the process, we've been concerned at the seeming lack of urgency in comparison to where we were at the height of the pandemic. We wondered if instead the pandemic had been an asteroid that had hit the Earth in 2020, killing 10 to 20 million people, whether we would have maintained that urgency to come together to negotiate a treaty to ensure we do better the next time. Our work this week during WHA to finalize the IHR amendments show that we as a global community can come together to conclude these important processes, ensuring that we are better prepared the next time. And we hope the momentum from the IHR amendments propel us towards successful negotiations for a pandemic agreement. And Fiji remains committed to the process. We thank you.
Thank you. France, you have the floor, to be followed by Switzerland.
France associates itself with the statement to be made on behalf of the European Union and welcomes the adoption today of the international health regulations as revised. We thank all those who participated in this work, especially the co-chairs, as well as all the members of the Bureau. For several decades, the international health regulations have been the tool with which the international community protects the world from health emergencies. It shows the power and relevance of multilateralism. After the pandemic, we had to demonstrate to our people that these methods could be more efficient, that a multilateral instrument such as IHRs could be invented and improved rapidly. And we are proud to see that we were able to conduct this revision in 2 years. This is a great feat which we don't yet fully appreciate. We have to use this success to move even further and rapidly adopt a pandemic agreement, which is an ambitious agreement. France continues to be determined to help the INB, and we worked very hard for the IHR to strengthen the international health architecture.
Switzerland, you have the floor, to be followed by Norway.
Monsieur le Président, nous tenons à exprimer nos...
President, we thank the two co-chairs of the working group on the amendments to international health regulations, as well as the Secretariat of the WHO for their tremendous commitment to the negotiating process. Adoption by consensus of amendments to the IHRs is a crucial stage for better protection of health throughout the world and for international cooperation to combat communicable diseases. We worked for equity and learned from the pandemic. We continue to be committed to a future where we have robust mechanisms to protect our populations. Switzerland, like other signatory countries, will now launch internal procedures and verify whether the amendments can be implemented at national level. These amendments must be implemented at national level to protect public health. Thank you.
Thank you. Norway, you have the floor, to be followed by Argentina.
We would like to echo and thank you all, the bureaus and the Secretariat, on the exceptional effort in both the working group for the IHR and the INB. For the IHR, this is a momentous day where we have made significant changes in the spirit of solidarity. These new amendments will improve our collective ability to prepare for, detect, and respond to public health events, while simultaneously operationalizing equity and solidarity. In addition, we are very pleased with the agreed ambitious timeline to finalize the pandemic agreement, building on the progress achieved. Norway remains committed to work for a successful outcome and to find common and more equitable solutions to the shared risk of devastating pandemics. Thank you.
Argentina, you have the floor, to be followed by Colombia.
Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, President. Argentina would like to congratulate the members of the WHO, the Bureau, and all the staff of the WHO for the great efforts made. I'd also like to thank all the members of my delegation and the representatives of our Ministry of Health who have tirelessly and with unlimited patience have worked through this long process. We take note of the resolution and we lament that the amendments, which are ample and complex, have been finished at the last minute. We take a decision as a sovereign member of the state on 13.4. We would like to repeat our conviction that on the implementation of a pandemic treaty, it is up to the sovereignty of each member state to apply it to their legislation to protect their citizens in the way that they consider is best and covers their independence and freedom. Thank you.
Colombia, you have the floor, to be followed by the Netherlands.
Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, President. We align ourselves with the statement made by Mexico in the face of the tragedy that we faced with COVID-19. We wanted a treaty that would be brave and help us tackle public health emergencies of international concern. And there were elements of equity that were not in the document and which hampered the international response to COVID. We understand that the technical nature of the work that we have carried out looks at the subject of equity, and the work over recent years, in particular in the last few months, shows that we can believe in multilateralism and looking at the protection of our global goods, such as public health. We consider it's very important, the path that we have taken, and there's just so little more to be done. That's why we strongly support continuing our work with an extension of the deadline, on the understanding that we will work on the basis of the agreements reached, and we will work on that which still requires agreement. And that we would like to see equity included specifically in the treaty. Thank you to the Bureau, to our colleagues, the Secretariat of the WHO, and the Secretariat for all their support. Thank you.
You have the floor, to be followed by Brazil.
The Netherlands aligns itself with a statement that will be delivered by the European Union. Mr. President, the Netherlands would like to congratulate the Assembly with the adoption of the package of amendments to the 2005 International Health Regulations. We would also like to thank all delegations, the Bureau, the Secretariat, and stakeholders involved in the negotiations for the constructive cooperation over the past 2 years. The Netherlands takes note of the negotiation result that has just been adopted. However, as the appointment of a new government is imminent in the Netherlands, the caretaker government will defer consideration for approval of the package to the next government and to our national parliament. Thank you.
Brazil, you have the floor, to be followed by Qatar.
Distinguished Chair, Brazil aligns itself with the regional statement provided by Mexico. Brazil celebrates the successful outcome of the work group on amendments to AHR. Equity and solidarity have been added without qualifiers or restriction to the principle governing the AHR. Crucial issues like access to health products and finance arrangement were agreed upon. We are proud to co-sponsor this IHR resolution. We are convinced, certainly hopeful, that the newly agreed provision of the amendment IHR will contribute to bring the INB process forward. Brazil is fully committed to contribute to the delivery of a meaningful and ambitious pandemic agreement, at the latest by the 78th World Health Assembly. We need courage to face global health asymmetries towards a real multilateralism. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Qatar, you have the floor, to be followed by the United Kingdom.
Thank you, President. The State of Qatar would like to take this opportunity to extend our deepest gratitude for the diligent efforts and unwavering commitment demonstrated by the Bureau, all the member states, and the co-chairs throughout this process, working on the amendments for IHR 2005 and the INB. The dedication of all involved has been crucial in fostering a collaborative environment that has allowed us to navigate complex issues and reach a consensus on pivotal matters. The State of Qatar recognizes the immense importance of establishing a robust international framework for pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. The recent global health crisis has underscored the urgent need for comprehensive and coordinated international action. We commend the progress made in drafting the INB amendments and are confident that this will significantly enhance our global health security infrastructure. The State of Qatar also acknowledges the critical role of the IHR in safeguarding global health. The proposed amendments aim to strengthen the existing framework and ensure a more effective and timely response to public health emergencies. We appreciate the meticulous work undertaken to review and propose these amendments and are committed to endorsing measures that enhance the IHR's efficacy and relevance. The work accomplished thus far for both items represents a significant milestone in our shared journey. As we move forward, we remain steadfast in our commitment to supporting the continued efforts of the INB and IHR. In conclusion, let us reaffirm our dedication to this vital work and express our profound appreciation for the hard work that has brought us to this point. Together, we can and we will make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Please note that for member states' interventions, we have 1 minute and 2 minutes for group statements. United Kingdom, you have the floor, to be followed by the Republic of Korea.
Thank you very much, Chair. The UK would like to thank the Bureau and Working Group for all their work. The international health regulations are an important technical framework that help to prevent and protect against the spread of disease. This set of proposed amendments updates the regulations to reflect the lessons learned, including from COVID-19. Every member state, including the UK, now has the right, under the regulations, to evaluate each and every amendment before making a sovereign choice of whether to accept or opt out of each or all amendments. In the UK, we have a general election on the 4th of July, and we are therefore in a formal pre-election period. It will be for the elected government to make that choice. The UK recognises the importance of ongoing cooperation, including as we continue to discuss a new pandemic accord following the delay agreed this week. Thank you very much, Chair.
Republic of Korea, you have the floor, to be followed by Indonesia.
Thank you, President, for giving me the floor. I want to begin by expressing our deepest gratitude to the Bureau, especially to the co-chairs, Dr. Ashley Bloomfield and Abdullah Asiri, who have faithfully guided the discussions in the working group on amendments to the international health regulations over the past 18 months. We would like to also thank to member states who devoted themselves to this journey. President, as we agreed here, the IHR is pivotal for prepared for and responding to future pandemics. Therefore, systemic enhancement like this IHR amendment must be certainly accompanied by efforts to strengthen the core capacities of the member states for effective implementation. I assure you that the Republic of Korea will endeavor to collaborate with the WHO and fellow member states by sharing our experiences to strengthen the core capacities. I thank you very much.
Indonesia, you have the floor, to be followed by India.
Indonesia thanks both co-chair working group of INB and HR, the Secretariat and all member states who worked hard over the past 3 days of final negotiation. Congratulations for our job well done. We must be proud of ourselves. We have managed to bring the HR better fit for purpose and include important principles such as equity and solidarity, as well as better governance. The last couple of days cannot be looked at in a silo. It is a culmination of our collective work over the past 2 years. We have managed to finalize the HR and agree for a clear path forward to ensure we successfully land a pandemic treaty in the not-so-distant future. 2 reflections from us. First, if there is a will, there is a way. We are able to conclude the negotiation of over 300 proposed amendments in an inclusive and constructive manner. Second, great leadership, compromise, and stewardship is critical. Now that we know this can be done, let us learn from it and conclude the pandemic treaty. Thank you.
India, you have the floor, to be followed by Japan.
Thank you, Mr. President. India takes the floor to thank the Bureau in its efforts to steer the working group on IHR to have an amended international health regulations. The amendments we have made today would not only lead to better protection of global health, but in doing so, would also recognize different capacities and capabilities of developing countries. India engaged intensively in the discussions and remained committed to the process of building a consensus on the proposed amendments, reflecting our core value of one world, one family. We note the progress made in the intergovernmental negotiating body on the draft pandemic instrument. India remains committed to engage constructively in the negotiations going forward, keeping in view that any future pandemic instrument must have equity at its core. While crafting the instrument, our efforts must be to ensure that the treaty benefits the poorest and most vulnerable of the world. Thank you, Mr. President.
Japan, you have the floor, to be followed by Kenya.
President, Japan supports the resolution and welcomes adoption of the amendments to the International Health Regulations 2005 that supports equity and strengthens their implementation. We are deeply grateful for the Bureau and the Secretariat, particularly Dr. Ashley Bloomfield of New Zealand, who has guided us through the last mile. His expertise in public health, his empathy to listen to multiple perspectives, and his patience were fundamental to bring us together. The process also raised awareness outside public health, facilitating a whole-of-government approach. Japan is thankful for the active engagement with our proposals, which aims to improve communication regarding high-risk events and management of outbreaks on conveyances such as cruise ships. For the INB, Japan again would like to thank the Bureau and the Secretariat. We remain committed to the process laid out in the decision to better prevent, prepare for, and respond to future pandemics with a view to achieving universal health coverage. Thank you, Mr. President.
Kenya, you have the floor, to be followed by Central African Republic.
Thank you, Mr. President. Kenya aligns with the statement delivered by Ethiopia on behalf of the member states of the WHO Africa region and Egypt. We take this opportunity to thank the co-chairs of the drafting group for presenting the decisions, resolution, and outcomes from the INB and the WGIHR. Kenya was honored to serve as a member of the Bureau of the WGIHR, and we take this opportunity to express our appreciation to the African member states for entrusting us with this honor and responsibility. It is Kenya's hope that following adoption of the IHR resolution today, state parties will consider and implement the amended IHR to ensure that future responses to public health events are fairer and more equitable. We equally hope that this milestone will generate the much-needed impetus for the conclusion of the pandemic agreement. Kenya once again reiterates her commitment to multilateralism and to work together with all WHO member states to address present and future health challenges in line with the founding principles and objectives of the WHO. I thank you.
Central African Republic, you have the floor, to be followed by New Zealand.
Microphone, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, President. The CAR aligns itself with the statement made by Ethiopia on behalf of the Africa Group and Egypt. We join all the delegations who have spoken before us in congratulating everyone on the work on the IHR. It was not easy, but the negotiations have meant that we have managed to achieve change. The base that has been set by the working group on the IHR will help us in the INB to work on building a solid and efficient instrument that will guarantee equity for prevention, preparation, and response to pandemics. We look forward to the assistance from the WHO with the work, and we'd like to thank everyone for the spirit of openness and cooperation, and we'd like to thank the Secretariat and the Bureau for all the work that has led to the success of our work. We'd also like to thank civil society for their support and participation. Thank you.
New Zealand, you have the floor, to be followed by Ireland.
Thank you, Chair. By adopting the package of amendments to the International Health Regulations, we are ensuring that communities around the world are better and more equitably protected from future public health emergencies, including pandemics. New Zealand is honoured and proud to have contributed a co-chair for the working group. We wish to thank Dr. Abdullah Asiri and Sir Ashley Bloomfield, the Bureau, and their support crew, including the Secretariat, for their tireless work and guidance. It hasn't been easy, but the solidarity and goodwill shown during this process has demonstrated the benefit and the opportunity of multilateralism. All for health, health for all is the theme of this Assembly. Today, we congratulate all Member States for bringing that vision to life. The world will be safer because of our efforts. Ngā mihi nui. Thank you.
Ireland, you have the floor, to be followed by China.
Chair, distinguished delegates, Ireland aligns with the statement that will be delivered by the European Union and welcomes the adoption of the amendments to the International Health Regulations. Chair, we congratulate the Working Group, its Bureau and the Secretariat on achieving this historic milestone in global public health policy. We commend them on their collaborative spirit, perseverance and dedication throughout. This process has demonstrated that multilateralism truly is alive in Geneva. The robust and meaningful amendments presented today will significantly enhance the ability of states parties to adequately prepare for, detect and respond to emerging public health threats and to safeguard our respective populations. Perhaps most importantly, the negotiation of specific equity-targeted amendments encompassing sustainable finance, equitable access to health products will have enduring implications for the operationalisation of equitable emergency response. These legally binding amendments will no doubt bolster both national and international response to future health security risks and will allow the global community to ensure a safer, healthier world for all. I thank you.
China, you have the floor, to be followed by Belgium.
Thank you, Chair. China wishes to congratulate the Assembly on the consensus on the amendment of the IHR and appreciates all parties for their efforts in establishing the amendment. We highly commend the Bureau, the Director General, Dr. Tedros, and the Secretariat for their efforts. The amendment to the IHR this time has demonstrated vividly once again that greater solidarity and true multilateralism allow us to overcome any difficulties. We support the next steps of working arrangements and stands ready, together with all member states, to leverage fully the good momentum garnered at present, strengthening solidarity whilst closing divergence and committing to the principle of equity and accommodating all parties' concerns, especially developing countries, in order to conclude the agreement at an early date. We believe that as long as we try to move towards the same goal, we will always succeed. Thank you.
I have the honor to deliver this statement in our national capacity. Belgium aligns itself with the statement that will be delivered by the European Union. Director General, colleagues, we wholeheartedly thank the WHR Bureau and in particular co-chairs Dr. Bloomfield and Dr. Asiri for their guidance and for bringing the amended international health regulations home. This is a remarkable achievement given the challenging journey that led us here. Member states have proven their dedication to a more equitable and stronger global health architecture. Belgium is encouraged by this success and is fully committed to concluding the INB process on an equally positive note. Thank you.
Bangladesh, you have the floor, to be followed by Pakistan.
Thank you, President. Adoption of the amendment to the IHR is a historic moment. Big congratulations to all of us. Bangladesh is one of the countries that proposed major amendments. Today we are happy to see success. Despite being a small delegation, we actively participated in all meetings. Today's success is a demonstration of our political will. Similar will be exigent to repeat the same in crafting the pandemic treaty as well. With normative measures in place, it would be our collective responsibility to demonstrate sincerity to achieve health equity for everyone, everywhere. We firmly believe the failure that triggered the amendment of the IHR will not be repeated to the extent that we experienced in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. In conclusion, we thank the Bureau and the team of the Secretariat for their wonderful support to the member state during the negotiation. I thank you.
Pakistan, you have the floor, to be followed by Uruguay.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Pakistan would like to express its gratitude and appreciation for the significant contributions made by the bureaus of WGIHR and INB, as well as for the Secretariat for lending their full support. We welcome the package of amendments being adopted today, which aims to update the international health regulations with principles of equity, solidarity, and cooperation. We believe these amendments will not only enhance the effectiveness of IHR, but also address the evolving needs of global public health. Provisions such as access to relevant health products and a coordinated financing mechanism will significantly aid developing countries in fulfilling their obligations more effectively. Regarding the INB, while we endeavored to reach an agreement during this assembly, we still remain hopeful. We wish to reaffirm our commitment to achieving an equity-based agreement within the new timeline, which will address the many predictable gaps that the IHR alone cannot cover. Thank you.
Uruguay, you have the floor to be followed by Haiti.
On behalf of Uruguay, I'd like to thank the Director General, the President of the Assembly, and the chairs of the committees who have allowed us to successfully complete our work. We've approved the 14th GPW, which will protect global health and takes note of climate change, the aging population and other important challenges. We welcome the amendments to the IHR, which will be important for the international health architecture. This progress shows that it is possible to work together and strengthen dialogue and seeking peace, which helps us achieve health for all. Thank you.
You have the floor to be followed by Australia.
Thank you, President. COVID-19 allowed us to test the implementation of IHR 2005 and showed us the inequalities that exist. That is why we've worked to achieve these amendments today. Haiti has participated actively in the negotiations. Now we must follow closely the implementation of the IHR in all countries and build the strength of the weakest. This shows the strength of multilateralism. We'd like to thank all of those who have participated and shown openness, in particular the co-chairs who led our work. We have taken an important step, and now the pandemic of COVID-19 must be remembered as something that shows us that there is a gap in equity that must be bridged. And so solidarity must be at the heart of the negotiations. We will continue for the INB to ensure we prepare better for a future pandemic. Collective efforts are needed to ensure the implementation of resilient and long-lasting health systems. And we need to be able to have access to innovation in care so that we can mitigate the risks brought about by pandemics. Inequalities have to be eliminated if we want to leave future generations a planet where life is possible. Thank you.
You have the floor to be followed by Nigeria.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to take this opportunity to reiterate Australia's deep gratitude to the two bureaus, co-chairs, their support teams and the hard-working Secretariat team who led and supported our negotiators to get us to where we are today. There are so many people in this room and in our homes who have put their hearts and souls into these two critically important processes. They have done so because these processes matter, because the amendments to the international health regulations we have just agreed and the proposed pandemic agreement that we will agree will make the world better, fairer and safer. They have worked on behalf of all of our people and for the people they love, children, parents, grandchildren, families, communities, driven by the commitment to turn the lessons learned from the COVID-19 pandemic into concrete action. We came together 2.5 years ago to start these negotiations. We are together today as we adopt with great pride the IHR amendments, and we will stay together as we work together to bring the INB process to a successful conclusion. I thank you.
Nigeria, you have the floor to be followed by Palestine.
Thank you, President. Nigeria aligns with the statement delivered by Ethiopia on behalf of the African region plus Egypt. Nigeria thanks the co-chairs of the WGIHR and the INB. We also thank the Bureau members, member states, the DG, and all staff from the Secretariat that worked to support us in the journey. It has been a long mile in the work of the two processes. It is gratifying today that the IHR 2005 amendments have been completed and adopted by the Health Assembly. Having come this far, in respect of the work of IMB, we have to work even more strategically and with greater commitment to finalize the work as soon as possible. While we celebrate the success of the IHR, we must not forget the distress, the devastation and loss of millions of lives that came with the COVID-19 pandemic. As such, and bearing in mind that the global community is still waiting to hear the good news of a completed pandemic treaty, we must work expeditiously within the extended period to complete the work of the IMB. I thank you, President.
Palestine, you have the floor to be followed by European Union.
شكرا سيد الرئيس وشكرا للأمانة ولجميع المشاركين وشكرا لأعضاء.
We'd like to thank the Secretariat and all participants and the Bureau for all the excellent work. Despite the many difficulties, we were able to achieve a very important point in our work, which is listening to one another and putting humans at the center of our work. The IHR has a very important point for Palestine, that is to say, the response in emergency situations, and in particular in humanitarian disasters. We have always wanted to integrate the humanitarian aspects so that we do not forget that. We are committed to continuing with the work so that we can achieve global solidarity, cooperation and equity. I thank you all for having given Palestine the opportunity to participate in these negotiations, and we look forward to continuing this work to achieve a healthier world for all. Thank you.
Followed by Holy See.
From the side of the European Union, we very much welcome today's adoption of the revised international health regulation. We thank everybody who has participated in this successful endeavor. A particular thank to co-chair Bloomfield and Assiri, as well as all Bureau members for their leadership, without which this success would not have been possible. A very special thanks as well to the Secretariat for their great work over the past 2 years. Today is a historic day for global health. Following 2 years of very intense negotiation, this agreement underscores the continuing strength of international cooperation and solidarity for global health. It also demonstrates that multilateralism can deliver concrete results that make the world a better place. By strengthening the IHR and setting new international commitments that improve the management of public health emergencies, together we will be able to better protect all people from serious public health threats. This is a significant achievement that we should all be very proud of, and that will serve to inspire us in our continued endeavor to conclude a pandemic agreement. Thank you.
Holy See, you have the floor to be followed by Singapore as the last speaker.
Microphone, please. Thank you, Mr. President. My delegation commends the efforts of states to successfully bring to completion this update of the international health regulations. This important process was born not only from the painful lessons of COVID-19, but also from the awareness that no one is saved alone. We can only be saved together. These amendments are a testimony to this, an illustration of all for health, health for all. It has been an intense period of negotiations, but this outcome underlines the importance of encounter and negotiation in pursuit of the common good. It renews hope in multilateralism, and it demonstrates the determination of states to continue to effectively respond to contemporary health challenges. The Holy See will now further examine these amendments to see if they can be adopted at domestic level. Finally, my delegation hopes that today's achievement will provide the energy needed to bring the proposed pandemic accord to a timely conclusion.
Singapore, you have the floor to be followed by Egypt.
Thank you, Chair. Singapore celebrates along with fellow member states today with the successful conclusion of the WGIHR negotiations. And we extend our deepest thanks to the co-chairs, Bureau and Secretariat for their hard work over the past 2 years. Singapore looks forward to the successful implementation of the amended IHR by all state parties, as the IHR's core capacities, which each state party needs to maintain, remain a backstop to prevent the cross-border spread of disease through strengthening the core capacities of all states. We also support the decision to ride the momentum and leverage political commitment to complete the work of the INB, as it would be good to collectively raise the pandemic PPR bar for countries around the world. Thank you.
Egypt, you have the floor, to be followed by Tanzania as the last speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Chair, Director General, distinguished colleagues, Egypt aligns itself with the statement made by Ethiopia on behalf of the African Group plus Egypt. This year's World Health Assembly is truly remarkable, marked by historic decisions and resolutions on Palestine and this milestone. It stands as a testament to the power of unity and the collective will to improve global health and leaving no one behind. Egypt extends its deep gratitude and appreciation to the Bureau, all co-chairs and vice-chairs of the IMB and IHR, especially our 3 African negotiators and the 2 EMRO negotiators, Madam Precious, Dr. Tostani, Dr. Oseri, and Ambassador Ramadan. A special thanks to the greening champion of the IHR, Dr. Ashley Bloomfield, and to everyone who worked tirelessly to reach this historic moment. The diligent work over the past 2.5 years have come to fruition. Egypt is very proud to have joined the African Group plus Egypt to unify our views and align our positions, and we're equally proud to represent EMRO in the Bureau. The journey has not been an easy one, but as stated by many esteemed colleagues, today is a great triumph for multilateralism. It shows that through collective effort, we can address the most complex global issues and achieve our common objective of health for all. Let us take this moment to reaffirm our commitment to solidarity and equity. We hope that before the next assembly, we can once again applaud loudly the success of the negotiations in the INB to reach a treaty that ensures equity in all its aspects. Thank you.
Tanzania, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, the United Republic of Tanzania aligns with the statements made by Ethiopia on behalf of all African member states. We are grateful to the co-chairs who guided the IHR amendment and the INB to a success that we celebrate today. We equally congratulate the Bureau for its commitment, which made finalization of this amendment a possibility. Tanzania believes that the momentum we have gained by the achievements in the amendment of the IHR now sets pace for the yet-to-be finalized pandemic treaty. We look forward to a continued spirit of collegiality and solidarity, and we hope that the negotiations for the pandemic treaty will put at its core equity and justice. Tanzania remains committed to the negotiation of the pandemic treaty to ensure that health for all is achieved. Mr. Chair, I thank you.
Senegal, you have the floor as the last speaker.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Senegal aligns with the statement by Ethiopia on behalf of African Group and welcomes this success of multilateralism with the adoption of the amendments to IHRs. Now we have to quickly conclude negotiations on the pandemic agreement if we want to have a safer and healthier world. We can manage to do this if we show the same determination and solidarity. Senegal will do all it can to help.
Thank you. The agenda item is now closed. We will now move to the closure of the assembly. Thank you. Let me give DG the floor to comment on this item.
Thank you. Mr. President. President of the Assembly, President Nicolotti, Dr. Ashley Bloomfield, Dr. Abdullah Asiri, Dr. Precious Matoso, and Dr. Roland Drees, Bureau members of both IMB and IHR, dear colleagues and friends. I have lost my voice, but it's a small price to pay. Thank you. Because tonight we have all won, and the world has won. I offer you all my warmest congratulations, my sincerest admiration, and my deepest gratitude. You have made history here today in approving a strong package of amendments to the international health regulations. You have strengthened the cornerstone of international health law. In doing so, you have made the world safer. I have always believed that both the IHR amendments and the pandemic agreement could be finalized for this health assembly. IHR, tick. And the pandemic agreement is not done yet, but I have no doubt it will be. You have charted a clear path forward, and you have demonstrated your clear commitment to finalizing it, if possible, this year, if not the latest, by May 2025. The success of the IHR working group should give the IMB confidence that you can get this done, and you will. The time frame that you set yourselves was extremely ambitious, and rightly so. Thank you all for your hard work, working late into the night. The record was 4:18 a.m., which shows your strong commitment. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is international law. It was 7 years between when the World Health Assembly adopted a resolution calling for a framework convention on tobacco control, and when it adopted the FCTC. So even if it takes another year to finalize the pandemic agreement, and I don't believe you will need that long, you will still have achieved a lot in very short time. So we will get to have two parties, one today for the IHR, and another one sometime in the next year when you finalize the pandemic agreement. I offer my profound thanks to our four co-chairs, Ashley, Abdullah, Precious, and Roland, and also to my colleagues in the Secretariat, Mike, the General, Ragnar, Jawad, Steve, Andrea, Claudia, Roberta, Anne, Ola, Kenneth, Paida, Bruno, and the many other staff who supported the process. Both of these processes, the IMB and the IHR, are a historic achievement for you and a gift for our children and grandchildren. My granddaughter is learning ballet. She's a ballerina now. And tomorrow I have a ticket for a performance in which she's dancing. This is her first public appearance. She's only 3, by the way. I almost feel like dancing myself, almost. But I will be celebrating with her that she and her friends and their children and grandchildren have a safer future because of what you did today. I thank you, and I want... And I just wanted to quote New Zealand. The road will be safer because of your efforts. Thank you so much. And I like the new voice.
Thank you. We shall now consider the last item of our agenda, item 9, closure of the Assembly. I invite Mr. Apurva Chandra, Chair of Committee A, to come to the rostrum and address the Health Assembly to give us an overview of the work of Committee A. Mr. Apurva Chandra, you have the floor.
Mr. President, distinguished delegates, DG Dr. Tedros, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure that I present this report on the work of Committee A during the 77th World Health Assembly. Just 6 days ago, we embarked on a whirlwind of activities, unpacking a box full of diverse topics that has kept us very busy and short on sleep. Our agenda has been intense, with rich discussions and marked by decisions that will shape the future of global health. Committee A tackled the 14th General Program of Work 2025-2028, the first in this new post-COVID era, setting a robust health agenda for the next 4 years. We debated on its resourcing and sustainable financing through increased assessed contributions and the WHO investment round, pushing the boundaries to ensure we have the means to achieve our goals. We also applauded WHO's vast work in emergencies, and while it was raining outside, we had long debates from early morning to late evening to consider an unprecedented set of health and technical issues. In fact, on 3 days, the Committee A debates went on till 11 p.m. or beyond. Committee A, recognizing the outstanding efforts of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Body for the Development of the Pandemic Prevention, Preparedness and Response Accord of the Working Group on Amendments to the International Health Regulations. With the revision of the International Health Regulations, an incredible milestone has been reached. This is a further step towards equity and creation of an umbrella of solidarity that will help protect the world from future pandemic threats. And I'm sure the entire Assembly would be dancing with the granddaughter of Dr. Tedros tomorrow. This was a short assembly, but every moment was packed with intense, constructive discussions, extended evening sessions, extensive consultations, and votes. Recognizing the diverse viewpoints on many sensitive issues, we worked hard towards our common goal, finding solutions that moved our agenda forward with a spirit of understanding. Inspired by the theme, Health for all for health, we worked as one family, what we call Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam in India. That is, the world is one family. It has been a pleasure to witness the committed engagement from all delegates. With almost 600 statements in total, we managed to steer the agenda to achieve our objectives, setting our roadmap for the future. Committee A approved 9 resolutions and 3 decisions, the summaries of which have already been conveyed to you all in my previous reports. 24 reports on technical matters were also considered and noted. Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, DG and staff of WHO, it has been an honor and a privilege to serve as chair of Committee A. I wish to thank you for electing me to this role and for the trust that you put in me as chair. I would also like to thank my vice chairs, Mr. Ambassador Alexandra Pena Gislini from Brazil and Mrs. Katarzyna Drazek-Laskowska from Poland, as well as my reporter, Mr. Lombo Ema Tihao from Burkina Faso, for their invaluable support in sharing this responsibility with me. Of course, the work of Committee A would not have been possible without the dedication and professionalism of its secretariat. I would like to extend my gratitude to Ms. Claudia and Mr. Ian Roberts, co-secretaries of Committee A, and their team. They are the ones who made sure every document was perfectly in order, that there was no logistical hiccups, and ensuring smooth working of the committee. I also extend heartfelt thanks to the co-chairs of the drafting group on sub-items 13.3 and 13.4, especially Dr. Ashley Bloomfield and Ms. Precious Matsoso. I thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership of this Assembly. I also commend the Vice Presidents and Rapporteurs for their efforts in making this Assembly a success. To the Director General, Dr. Tedros, I extend my appreciation for his invaluable contribution to the deliberations and guidance to promote, provide, and protect the health of the world's population. Finally, I would like to thank the WHO Secretariat for their tireless efforts in meeting the Member States' expectations. Mr. President, Excellencies, Delegates, Dr. Tedros, ladies and gentlemen, I wish each of you good health and a safe return to your home and your countries. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to congratulate you very warmly for your excellent presentation and also for the outstanding way in which you presided over the committee. I now invite Dr. Feras Hawari, Chair of Committee B, to come to the rostrum and report on the work of Committee B.
Mr. President, Director General, distinguished delegates, good afternoon. On behalf of the Vice Chairs, Dr. Masami Sakoi from Japan and Mr. James Angano from Rwanda, Rapporteur Ms. Marcela Arias Moncada from Honduras, I have the honor to present the report of Committee B. The committee considered and approved 9 decisions and 7 resolutions contained in the reports of the committee. Committee B first completed its main task of reviewing financial, audit, staffing, and management matters. Thanks to the work of the Executive Board and the Program, Budget, and Administration Committee, deliberations on these items ran smoothly and discussions were very constructive. Committee B adopted the decisions and resolutions pertaining to budget, finance, and staff matters, as well as on the infrastructure fund. The committee, after thorough deliberation, decided to defer 2 agenda items for further consideration to WHO governing bodies. Committee B has also considered items transferred from Committee A, namely the review and update on matters considered by the Executive Board, and in particular, 5 items under Pillar 3, 1 billion more people enjoying better health and well-being, and 2 items under Pillar 2, 1 billion more people better protected from health emergencies. As a result of those discussions, Committee B adopted 3 important resolutions on strengthening health and well-being through sport events, on the economics of health for all, and on climate change and health. On Friday, Committee B conducted a record 8 separate rounds of voting in one day. And I want to thank delegates for their patience, understanding, and commitment to our work. As a result, Committee B adopted 1 resolution on the WHO's work on health emergencies and 1 decision on the implementation of Resolution WHA 75.11/2022. Committee B also adopted several resolutions and decisions on the health conditions in the occupied Palestine territory, including East Jerusalem, and in the occupied Syrian Golan, including 1 on aligning the participation of Palestine in the World Health Organization with its participation in the United Nations. On behalf of the Committee B, I would like to thank all the delegates from member states for their commitment, their willingness to work towards agreed upon decisions, and the discipline and flexibility demonstrated while moving between the different items and meeting rooms. I thank you, Mr. President, for your most able leadership, guidance, and support, which was key in allowing for a productive and successful assembly. Director General, I would like to thank you for the support you provided to our work at this assembly. Your leadership steered us, and your personal engagement gave us the confidence to make decisions that will shape the future of global health. I would also like to thank WHO senior leadership for their perspectives in addressing the committee. Finally, I would like to thank my friends in the Committee B Secretariat, whose expertise, professionalism, diligent work, and constant assistance throughout those long days have enabled us to efficiently accomplish our work in this session. As we have come to the end of the 77th World Health Assembly, it is time for us to start working on ensuring that decisions we made together here are translated into actions in our respective countries. Mr. President, officers, and delegates, I bid everyone farewell as we go back to our homes and families. But history shall record that this World Health Assembly was exceptional by all standards. And as we welcome Palestine from the sidelines into the seat that it deserves, we are one step closer to translating our slogan, all for health and health for all. It has been an absolute honor and privilege to serve in this capacity. Thank you all.
Thank you for your comprehensive report. Your leadership and sterling contribution to the work of the committee are generally appreciated. Now that the main committees have completed their work, including consideration of the Executive Board's report, we're in a position to formally take note of these reports. I take it that the Assembly also wishes to commend the Board on the work performed and express our appreciation for the dedication with which it has carried out the task entrusted to it. Is the Assembly ready to take note of these reports? I see no objection. The reports are noted. I would like to draw the Health Assembly's attention to the fact that under the provisions of Article 14 of the Constitution, the Health Assembly, at each annual session, shall select the country or region in which the next annual session shall be held, and the Executive Board will subsequently fix the date and place. I take it that the Assembly decides that the 77th World Health Assembly The Assembly decides that the 78th World Health Assembly will be held in Geneva, Switzerland. Does the Assembly agree with this decision? In the absence of any objection, it is so decided. The Director General would like to say a few words. Dr. Tedros, you have the floor.
I hope you're not tired of me. But I would like to do the closing because, as many of you have said, this assembly is really remarkable. Honorable Minister Dr. Edwin Dicolotti, President of the 77th World Health Assembly, Excellencies, Ministers, Heads of Delegation, dear colleagues and friends, we have come to the end of another long but fruitful World Health Assembly. I'm sure that, like me, you're tired and you're looking forward to going home. I hope that as you go home, you do so with pride and satisfaction at what you have achieved this week. Your adoption of the 14th General Program of Work charts a course for global health for the next 4 years, with a commitment to promote, provide, and protect the health of the world's people. The package of amendments on the international health regulations that you adopted is an historic achievement that makes the world a safer place. And you have agreed on a path forward for the pandemic agreement, and I remain confident that you will bring it to conclusion. In addition, you have adopted decisions and resolutions on many key health issues: antimicrobial resistance, climate change and health, infection prevention and control, maternal and newborn and child health, mental health in emergencies, social participation in primary health care, transplantation, and more. We also launched the WHO investment round, and we celebrated 50 years of essential program on immunization, EPI. In 1974, when EPI was launched, fewer than 5% of infants globally were vaccinated. Today, about 84% of the world's children have been vaccinated against diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis diseases, which were once a death sentence, as you know. Vaccines are the single greatest reason for reductions in child mortality. I will tell you a figure which I like many of you. From 11 million child deaths in 1990 to 4.5 million in 2022. In 30 years, it's halved. This is because of your work. In addition, the strategic roundtables gave us the opportunity to launch the WHO investment case and to discuss key issues including the economics of health for all, artificial intelligence, AMR, and climate change and health. The year ahead offers several significant opportunities to make substantial progress on all the issues you have discussed this week. In particular, the high-level meeting on AMR at this year's UN General Assembly is an important opportunity to catalyze much-needed political commitment. So our work here has ended, but now the work of implementing what we have agreed begins. This week was the first held assembly for the 3 regional directors whom you elected last year, all of whom represented firsts. The Southeast Asia region elected Ms. Saima Wazid from Bangladesh, the first time we have had 2 women as successive regional directors in CRO. Ms. And the Eastern Mediterranean elected Dr. Hanan Belkhi from Saudi Arabia, the first woman appointed to that role, Eastern Mediterranean region. And the Western Pacific elected Dr. Saya Mai Pikula from the Payukala from Tonga, the first Pacific Islander to hold the role. So all 3 historic. Dr. Saya. And I would like to place on record my thanks and admiration for Dr. Poonam Ketrapal Singh and Dr. Ahmed Al-Mandari for their leadership and services to WHO. And my deep gratitude also to Dr. Susanna Jacob, who retired as Deputy Director General this year after leading the Western Pacific through a very difficult period. Of course, who is succeeded by our new Deputy Director General, Dr. Mike Ryan. Can you show yourself, please? And last year was also a sad year, as we lost our sister, Dr. Carissa Etienne, the former Regional Director of the Americas and Director of PAHO from Dominica. This held assembly also marks the last for another of our regional directors, our regional director who has led a region with formidable dedication, determination, and distinction, Dr. Shidi Moeti. I think she is not with us, but she's from Kabore. And to my sister Shidi, thank you for your outstanding contribution to the health of the people of Africa, our continent, for your partnership in the Global Policy Group. I look forward to working with whomever member states choose as your successor, and I also look forward to continuing to work with you in whatever you decide to do next. As we say, once WHO, always WHO. Finally, I would like to thank someone who is well known to all member states for his tireless work as Director of Governing Bodies for the past 8 years, and who is admired by many of you, Dr. Tim Armstrong. So, Dr. Tim Armstrong, our colleague, dear mate, because he's from Australia, so that's what we call him, mate. He's leaving Geneva tomorrow to become the WHO country representative in Lao PDR. I think he's not here today. Tim, wherever you are, I hope you're listening. Thank you for everything that you and your team have done. I wish you the very best, and I know that our loss is Laos' gain. Excellencies, I began the week by reflecting on our theme of all for health and health for all. I asked you to show the world that in these divided and divisive times, nations can still come together to find a common approach, a common ground to common challenges. And that's exactly what you have done. Of course, there are differences between you, and there are things on which you do not agree. That's not remarkable. We live in a complex world, and the geopolitical, ideological, economic, and cultural differences between nations are evident here as they are in other international fora. It's far more remarkable that despite the real differences between member states, you're able to find so much common cause and so much common ground. You have shown that what unites you is greater than what divides you. And in that sense, you have shown the world the meaning of all for health and health for all. Finally, Honorable Minister Dr. Edwin Dicolotti, my brother, please accept my deep gratitude for your leadership as President of the 77th World Health Assembly. And I would like to invite you now to receive the ceremonial gavel as a token of appreciation. I also thank Mr. Apurva Chandra of India and Dr. Feras Hawari of Jordan for your leadership as chairs of the Committee A and Committee B, respectively. First, I would like to invite Dr. Apurva Chandra to receive the ceremonial gavel as a token of our appreciation. I would like to invite Dr. Feras Hawari to receive the ceremonial gavel as a token of appreciation. Thank you once again to all member states for your commitment to promoting, providing, and protecting the health of the world's people. I wish you a safe trip home, and thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, esteemed Director General Dr. Tedros, all ministers of health and heads of delegation, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Distinguished delegates, allow me to thank you at the conclusion of this historic assembly meeting for your cooperation and insightful contributions throughout the duration of the assembly. I also wish to express my most sincere thankfulness once more for having bestowed on me the presidency of this assembly. As Botswana, and indeed as the Africa region, we take this noble gesture very seriously and will do anything we can to use the position for the betterment of the global health. I thank my vice presidents and chairs of the main committees for your support and for doing a very sterling job. I also want to thank the Secretariat for their facilitation and also to thank the interpreters for enabling a smooth communication among delegates. Thank you. Our esteemed Director General Dr. Tedros and your staff, I thank you profusely for your facilitation and guidance throughout the proceedings of the Assembly. You were truly very supportive, and this helped us to make the progress that we wanted. All ministers and dear delegates, I wish to thank you for your commitment and believe that it is only through multilateralism that global health challenges can be addressed. Your dedication meant that we worked till very late because we needed to cover all possible areas that could help improve the health and well-being of our people. After several months of fruitful engagements and consultations, we can be proud to have adopted the 14th General Program of Work, which is significant and sets a high-level roadmap for global health. This development will surely guide WHO's work in support of member states and partners for the next 4 years and will reinvigorate the actions needed to get the health-related SDGs on track. This will also help in future-proofing health and care systems for the post-SDG era. Distinguished delegates, I'm also grateful that during this assembly, we passed a number of significant resolutions and decisions, among which are on social participation for universal health coverage, health and well-being, strengthening mental health and psychosocial support before, during, and after armed conflicts, accelerating national and global response to address AMR, on the Global Health and Peace Initiative, on accelerating progress towards reducing maternal, newborn, and child mortality, on climate change and health, and on sustainable financing. These achievements underscore our collective commitment to addressing some of the most pressing health challenges of our time. Our efforts aim to create a more inclusive health system and to ensure that those affected by crisis receive the care they need. This will also help safeguard future generations. All the resolutions adopted in this Assembly represent significant steps forward in our global health agenda. Let us carry this momentum forward, working collaboratively to turn these resolutions into tangible outcomes that improve health and well-being for all. The highlight of my presidency at this 77th Health Assembly has been the historic approval of the amendment of the International Health Regulations of 2005. As demonstrated during the COVID-19 pandemic, the most significant gap we encountered in managing and ending the pandemic was resource constraints, which impeded many states in developing and maintaining their core capacities. In this regard, I wish to sincerely thank the IHR Working Group for burning the midnight oil in order to finalize these negotiations under the leadership of the Bureau and the Secretariat. The momentum created thus far reinvigorates us to now work hard and conclude the pandemic instrument, preferably by the end of the year or at the latest May 2025. This will ensure the full continuum of the management of health emergencies and effective response to pandemics. Distinguished guests, the walk the talk that many of you participated in was a continuous reminder that we should live the talk about healthy living. We should adopt the walk the talk spirit to our national context and ensure that we strengthen health promotion initiatives that could help us have strong primary healthcare systems in our respective countries. We need to do everything we can, ladies and gentlemen, to propel our countries on the path to achieving aspirations of the SDGs and ultimately the universal health coverage. Thank you once more. I wish you safe journeys back home to your respective countries and destinations. Pula!